Welcome one and all. We've got another batch of multiple choice questions here today for our gains and losses and netting those gains and losses together. Let's kind of run through what we've got. And yeah, we see we have a pretty hefty question here. We are going to read the question first because whenever you see a lot of information, highly advise you to read the question first. What are we looking for? Now, what is Lark's year two net capital gain or loss before any capital loss limitation? So we see we're going to have to first get the number. We're going to have to identify, is it a gain or is it a loss? We're not going to worry about long term, and we'll obviously address the fact that we have long term and short terms throughout here. We have some section 1244 worthless stock there. We've got a lot of moving parts. Let's dive in and see what we have. First off, well, individual Lark's year two brokerage account statement listed the following capital gains and losses from the sale of stock investments. How are we going to treat this? I want to treat this before we even read any further. We are going to first net the short terms against the short terms, the long terms against the long terms. So let's do that before we go any further. Short terms, we net these together. We have a short-term gain of 6, short-term loss of 4. We have short-term gain of 2. And then what about long-term? We have a long-term gain of 14. We have a long-term loss of 8. That's going to leave us with a long-term overall gain of 6. And then from there, we can just net those together and give us a total gain of 8. Cool. Moving on, in addition, 2 stock investments became worthless in year 2. And just as a reminder, keep in mind the dates. Now, there's nothing tricky here, but you could see a question where we talks about something that happened in year 1, something that happened in year 3. But as we see, the question's asking about year 2. Public company X stock was purchased in December year 1 for $5,000 and a formal notification. Now, that's important because if you just believe, if a question could say you believe your stock was worthless, or similar if we think about worthless non-business loans when it comes to deductions and gross income and individuals, those two, you have to have confirmation that you're not going to receive those funds. Similar concept as well to accounts receivable. But when are you going to write those off? It's when you know you're not going to receive those funds. Just kind of tying it all into many accounting concepts we know. Now, the formal notification was received by Lark on July year 2 that it was worthless. So as such, this is important because in year 2, we're going to account for this. If this said year 3, then it would be accounted for in year 3. Private company section 1244 stock was issued to Lark for $10,000 in January year 1 and was determined to be worthless in December year 2. We see all this is happening year 2. Again, this question's not trying to trick you for the dates, but many other questions will do just that. All right, so what are we going to do? Well, we are going to subtract the $5,000. Here, we're going to subtract that $5,000 from our total gain of 8. We're going to say 8 minus 5. And then, what else are we going to do? We are going to take a look at our private company stock that was issued for 10, and that is determined to be worthless. Now, that is going to, an important point to know here is this $10,000, what's the difference between this private company section 1244 and this public company stock? Big difference. This private company section 1244, something to memorize, something to know if you don't remember from the lessons, this is going to be treated as ordinary. Now, it's amount and character of gains and losses. That's a big component of this whole lesson and everything we're seeing. So the character of this gain or loss, I mean, it's going to be a loss because it's a worthless stock. The character of this 1244 worthless is ordinary. So we would completely ignore that. Now, for the purposes of taxation, I mean, that $10,000, for sure, that's going to be somewhere on your tax return. That's going to be counted as an ordinary loss. But our question here is worried about the capital gain. Now, this public company stock, because it's a public company, it's not dealing with 1244. This is also going to be just normal capital gain or loss, and that's why we're subtracting the 5 there. So this 10,000 is a distractor. Now, again, if it was a sim, it was asking for everything, then the $10,000 you might report somewhere else as an ordinary loss. So here, 8 minus 5 is going to give us a total gain of 3. That is going to be a net capital gain. Just make sure you're not messing up the signs. Make sure you're understanding if we've got gains or losses. That is going to leave us with final answer, letter B, $3,000 net capital gain. Moving on to the next, we've got another netting question, and we've got an individual. This individual is going to report the following capital transactions in the current year. Just make sure you're not getting tripped up by any positives, negative signs in the question. I mean, this is straight up telling you it's a loss, even though it's not negative, but you will see questions where it's formatted as a negative. Well, why do we do this? Well, many of these questions are provided by the AICPA. Also, this is just how you could see questions. So make sure you're not getting confused or anything. These are not all gains just because they're positive. Read the descriptor. What are we going to do? What amount is deducted in arriving at adjusted gross income? So it's kind of spoiling it for us. It looks like we'll likely have an overall loss because it's saying what amount is deducted. And you might see questions like that. Now, in the prior one, it didn't indicate in the possible answers if it was going to be a gain or loss. But in this case, we know it's going to be a loss. Taking a look, similar to what we did last time, let's net the short terms and then the long terms. So first off, we're going to see short term against short term. This is short term gain. So we have a loss of 10 for short term. And then for long term, netting these two together, we have a gain of 10, a loss of 6. So we're going to have a positive of 4. If we net these together, we are going to have an overall loss of 6. You might be thinking, oh, let's choose letter C because that's 6. That's the answer we just got. To which I'd say, uh-oh, you forgot our super important rule. That's going to pop up throughout the entire exam. And as an individual, you are maxed out at deducting $3,000, right? The dastardly old number that keeps popping up and tripping us up. It's capped at $3,000 per year. That's the rule. That's the rule the IRS said. Now, what are we going to do? We're going to roll forward this remaining $3,000 because we had a total loss of 6. We can keep rolling forward this loss into future years and take it then, and that's fine. But for the current year, you're only allowed to deduct $3,000 against ordinary income, which is arriving at adjusted gross income. And that'll do it. That'll be it for these questions for the day. Keep staying strong. Have some coffee if you need. Power through. Focus on the exam. The exam, just it's what you got to do. You got to knock it out. Hopefully everything else is going well for you. I wish you nothing but the best, and have a great rest of your day. Hey there. Are you ready to not only pass your CPA exams, but truly understand and enjoy the material while studying? I know it seems impossible, right? Especially to enjoy the material. We'll do it together. Tap into the power of cpa.examprep.ai, where we've got personalized quizzes, multiple choice questions, memorization guides, flashcards, simulations, all tailored to your learning. Our adaptive study planning puts you on the fastest path to success and lifts you back up if you fall behind. Avoid wasting your precious time and money attempting an exam with a low chance of passing, because who wants that? We want to get you through this process as quick as possible. Our exam readiness prediction lets you walk in with confidence, knowing that you're prepared for success on exam day. Thankfully, there's no payment method needed to get started, so why don't you come join us? Visit cpa.examprep.ai and let's achieve your exam success together.